One of the things that Judge Hansen has inspired me to be is a good boss, because I see the way his staff has always bragged about him, praised him, loved him, and I want to be like Judge Hansen.
I drove 120 miles to come here and speak about my good friend Leroy Hansen, because if anybody deserves to be a distinguished alumni, it's Leroy. I've been a lawyer in New Mexico for almost 50 years, and I've known Leroy for almost all of that time. I don't remember exactly when I met him, but we both did insurance defense work, and because of that we had several cases together, maybe once or twice, third-party claims against each other. We used to have a much more collegial bar. Frequently after cases we'd go to one of the local establishments and have some adult beverages and talk about the case and what happened and why, and tell tall tales about other great legendary cases we've been involved in.
Leroy and I met in 1963. We had a case against each other, a will contest, and that's the way our friendship started many years ago. When we first met, I was impressed by his honesty, his candor. Although we were adversaries, worked together, got the case resolved pretty quickly, as I recall, although it's many years back. So that was our start.
I first met Leroy when we were both serving on the Appellate Judges Nominating Commission, but I knew of him for many, many years. I was a new-ish lawyer, and he was an established, well-respected, highly regarded member of the bar. So I met him because we were both on this committee, and it happened that I was assigned the seat right next to his. So I was starstruck, I would say, and I quickly learned that he is somebody who is very approachable and was not someone who demanded the intimidation factor. I just learned what a wonderful human being he was. So even though his reputation was so large, his personality was just so warm.
He was very involved in the bar. I think he was bar president at one time. He held other offices that were primary in the bar associations and primary to the profession. So I think he was very collegial with both opponents. He and Bill Kitts were close at one time, Dick Ransom, of course, and he talked to people at the bar, and at the bar association meetings, the annual event was always not to be missed in those days, because it was a great place to hear tall tales, and some of them might have been true.
We did a lot of stuff together in terms of working for the bar association, things like that. He was very supportive of what we were doing, and he was just a delight to work with. Always cheerful and just a fun person to be around. Our will contest that started everything was the only case where we opposed each other. Over the years, we've been in many cases where we did not represent the same client, but represented clients with the same interests. I started practice here in Albuquerque with the Modrell firm, and I stayed with Modrell throughout my practice. Leroy spent most of his life as an attorney with Dick Civarola and Wayne Wolf. So it was Civarola, Hansen, and Wolf. We became very close after that first lawsuit against each other. It turned out that we lived fairly close to each other, about 6 blocks apart. And he and his wife at the time, Maxine, and my wife Flo and I were very close in many respects.
I had the opportunity to practice law in front of Judge Hansen. So I met him as lawyers, and then he was a judge and I was a lawyer practicing in his court. I thought that he was very conscientious. He came to the bench in a situation where he had a backlog that he had to tackle, and he approached it just diligently and conscientiously. So when I was an attorney appearing in his court, I saw him on the bench. I saw his what I would call maybe stern or professional demeanor on the bench, no nonsense, take care of business, and I saw that he was interested in getting the work done. I can tell you, as an aside, I had a state trial I was preparing for, and the week after that, I had a hearing in front of Judge Hanson, and it was an evidentiary hearing that was going to require a good amount of preparation. So I thought that it would be hard for me to prepare for trial and then prepare for a federal court evidentiary hearing the next week. So I submitted my motion, and I expressed my concern, wanted to get it rescheduled so that I could have time to focus on not only my state trial, but also to properly prepare for my evidentiary hearing in front of Judge Hanson. So I made this request probably 2 or 3 weeks before my state trial. So Judge Hanson granted my request to reschedule. However, he rescheduled me a week before my state trial. So that is his diligence on getting his docket under control. And somehow I managed to prepare for Judge Hanson's evidentiary hearing and also my state trial.
And I would say that the thing I know best about Leroy, which also includes Judge Parker, is that they were both engineers. So that's a rarity on the bench. At least I had no qualification like that. But Leroy was a nuclear engineer, and Jim was a civil engineer. So he always said, they build the targets, we destroy them. That was nuclear engineer's job. I think he held a few people in contempt, maybe even referred a couple to the ethics committee. So he occasionally destroyed targets other than by nuclear means. Maybe the lawyers thought it was nuclear.
Patience is one of Judge Hanson's strengths, no doubt about it. I think the main reason for being patient is to make sure that you understand the positions and arguments of the lawyers before you make wrong decisions if you're impatient. And it's better just to be very careful and listen carefully to everything that's being said.
Working with Judge Hanson on the bench has been a fun experience because of the way the court operates. We're all fairly independent, so it's not often that I deal with Judge Hanson or in the past dealt with Judge Hanson regarding cases, but it was a much more collegial get-together at judges' meetings kind of relationship. And what really struck me about Judge Hanson, and honestly, I wasn't surprised, but what struck me about him is that he is just a kind and caring person. He never hesitated to ask about me, my family. He took such good care of his staff that they just all adored him. I think Leroy Hanson is an excellent role model. I have learned a lot from him by observing him, by working with him, by practicing law in front of him. I have learned to be firm but fair. I have learned to be compassionate. I have learned that this business of judging is not a popularity contest, and that I need to come to my own decisions and own them.
Leroy's a great friend. He's easy to get to know. People, I think, in the bar 40 or 50 years ago, everyone knew Leroy, and I think for the most part held him in high regard and were very friendly with him, even some people that he crossed swords with in the courtroom, and some of the judges. The judges would occasionally, well, frequently, at the Bar Association and elsewhere. We had the Bar Association in Puerto Vallarta one year, and the Supreme Court justices were all there, and it was a great event. Everybody had a good time, and Leroy was one of the centers of attraction. He was always very collegial. I was always impressed, and they never offered it to me, but he had a volume that West put out that was called The Law According to Judge Leroy Hanson. They had a whole volume of Leroy Hanson decisions. I never had insomnia bad enough to try to read it, but it was impressive that he would have that, sort of like CJS.
Well, he's got a good sense of humor. I must say, and my wife comments on this in particular, we tend to I wouldn't say belittle each other exactly, but we did tend to kid each other quite a bit. Probably shouldn't say this, but I've kidded him over the years about his height. I remember at his swearing-in ceremony as a judge, I made a comment that he probably was not going to help the court's basketball team very much.
I would say Leroy was proud of a couple of things. Most importantly, I guess, his Midwestern roots and his Scandinavian Danish heritage. He told me a lot about akavit, and we used to go skiing at his cabin with Judge Parker's, which is also Judge Parker's in Taos. And he, well, more than once, brought out akavit, which you hopefully have never heard of. It's a Scandinavian version of flavored vodka. They would not take kindly to me describing it that way likely, but then the Danes claim to have invented it. Leroy, although you wouldn't know that now, was a great athlete. He wrestled at the University of Iowa, which was one of the classic wrestling schools, and was in the Big Ten tournament a couple of times, and was a very effective wrestler. And then when I skied with he and Judge Parker, Leroy was a great skier. He could bang the bumps, and his knees have paid for that dearly ever since. But yeah, he was a great athlete and enjoyed skiing.
He was a fearless skier. I never could keep up with him going down Al's Run. I mean, he was, you know, hell-bent to get down, fell down a number of times, got up, kept going.
Judge Hansen is a credit to the UNM Alumni Association. He was an excellent attorney. He has been an excellent judge. I can tell you when I practiced law in front of him, he didn't always rule in my favor, but never once did I appeal his ruling because his analysis was always spot on. So like the outcome, not like the outcome, it was always well done. And so he is a credit to the UNM Law School.
Well, the word that comes to mind is friend. He has been my closest friend in New Mexico since 1963. I thought that this award for him was long overdue, to be honest with you. There was a time a few years back when I wrote a letter in support of him in this position, but I'm glad it finally happened.
Leroy, it's terrific you're getting this award. You have been highly regarded and a beneficiary of the law school, and you have benefited the law school for a long time. I think it's great that you're getting it, and it's well deserved.
I think Leroy Hansen is a very patient man because he deserved this award a long time ago, and it's about time he got it.